Guru Maharaj, Prabhupada's spiritual master, and today is also the 100th anniversary when Srila Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj first time in 1922. So we have His Grace Ramiya Prabhu, who is going to talk about these wonderful topics for the next 30 minutes. So Prabhuji, thank you for taking out your time and sharing the nectar about these great personalities. Prabhuji, please enlighten us. Thank you so much.
Yeah, there it is. Apologize, I don't have my accompaniment. I will just sing through the song we usually sing on these days and read the translation. So just hang on and follow me. Ye anilo premadam Garuna prachu Ye anilo premadana Garuna prachu Eno Prabhu Kota Gila Charya Thakur Eno Prabhu Kota Gila Charya Thakur Kamura Swarup Rupa Kahasanata Kamura Swarup Rupa Kahasanata Gadasara Gunata Bhatita Pavan Gadasara Gunata Bhatita Pavan Kamora Bhata Yuga Kavira Kamora Bhata Yuga Kaviraj Eka Kale Kota Gela Gora Nataraj Eka Kale Kota Gela Gora Nataraj Vashane Kutibo Mata Ale Bashibo Vashane Kutibo Mata Ale Bashibo Goranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gelapabo Gauranga Gunera Nidhi Kota Gelapabo Shesha Gira Sange Jai Koila Bilas Deja Gira Sange Jai Koila Bilas Jehanga Napaya Kande Narotamudas Sejanga Napaya Kande Narotamudas. So let me read the translation. Oh, yeah, maybe I didn't. Okay, where is it? Video. Sorry. You get. He who brought the treasure of divine love was filled with the compassion and mercy. Where is such a personality as Srinivasacharya gone? Where are my Swarup Damodar and Rupa Goswami? Where is Sanatana? Where is Raghunath Das, the savior of the fallen? Where are my Raghunath Bhatta and Gopal Bhatta? And where is Krishnadas Kaviraj? Where did Lord Gauranga, the great dancer, go? I will smash my head against the rock and enter into the fire. Where will I find Lord Gauranga, the reservoir of all qualities? being unable to obtain the association of Lord Gauranga, accompanied by all these devotees, in whose association he performed pastimes, Narottam Das simply weeps. So, my screen up there, I have to share it again. Let me see if we're doing this okay. Okay, so Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Maharaj, this appearance day today, and he was, I've got different points to read you, but I will also highlight them as we go through. And then at the end, if we have time, we'll read through some special quotes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So Srila Prabhupada's main relationship which connected him with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was his speaking. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta had been speaking regularly when Prabhupada met him about Sambandha Abhideya Prayojana, where Sambandha is the stage of devotional service in which awareness of God is awakened. Abhideya is the rendering of loving service to the Lord, and Prayojana is the ultimate goal of pure love of God. So, our Prabhupada would listen to him and attend his lectures. And I gotta go on the other side, because then I can see. Okay. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was very well educated in Sanskrit and the Vedic text, and even in English, he spoke in a very high, sophisticated British English. So one of the quotes from Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he said, "It is Krishna who is the super Lord over the entire universe and beyond it of Vaikuntha, the transcendental region. As such, no one can raise any obstacle against his enjoyment." So, Prabhupada, when he first met Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, he was very quickly impressed by him. And after his first meeting, he accepted him in his heart as his spiritual master. He had such faith in him. He would sometimes not even understand what Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was saying, but he would go on listening intently and submissively. And with his intelligence, he would drink in all the words of his spiritual master. So, let's see. One time Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was going on and he was speaking about Krishna, and after several hours, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta stopped speaking. Abhay felt prepared to go on listening without cessation, and yet he had no puzzling doubts or queries to place forward. He only wanted to hear more. So this is one of the primary duties of the disciple, to hear from the spiritual master. Go on hearing, and Srila Prabhupada, that was the essence of his relationship in the very beginning. So, Srila Prabhupada is again participating in, this is some time forward, imminent meeting with Srila Bhaktisiddhanta in Allahabad. And there was going to be some initiations and after that meeting. And then Prabhupada, Abhay, learned that there would be an initiation ceremony. He asked if he himself could be initiated. So his godbrother, Atulananda, actually said, "Yes, I'll introduce you to Guru Maharaj." So Srila Prabhupada in his heart was a devotee of Krishna, and as his wife was also. But he felt that it was not enough just to be a devotee. He knew that he must be initiated by a pure devotee. Avoiding sinful life, living piously, these things were necessary and good, but in of themselves, they did not constitute spiritual life, and they could not satisfy the yearning of the soul. So Srila Prabhupada had decided, yes, I must live by Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was the foremost Vedic scholar of his age. And he was an expert Vaishnava who could guide one back to Godhead. He was empowered by the predecessor Acharyas to work for the highest welfare by giving everyone Krishna consciousness, the remedy for all suffering. And Abhay felt that he had already accepted Srila Bhaktisiddhanta as his spiritual master, and that from their very first meeting, he had already received his orders. Now Srila Bhaktisiddhanta would accept him as his disciple, the relationship would be confirmed. So the story goes on, he was actually there, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, and after the bhajans, then he was in front of his spiritual master, and Prabhupada looked up very humbly at his spiritual master, and he and Srila Bhaktisiddhanta were now face to face. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta recognized him and was visibly pleased to see him. He already knew him. But yes, he said, exchanging looks with the Bhai. He likes to hear. He does not go away. I have marked him. I will accept him as my disciple. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta saw that this was his primary qualification, that he liked to hear and go away. When the opportunities came, go away, join the parikrama, or doing other services. He liked to just stay there and listen. So Prabhupada was very happy in the presence of his Gurudev. And quote, he likes to hear those words of his spiritual master, and his glance of recognition had remained with Prabhupada, and Prabhupada would continue pleasing his spiritual master by hearing well. Well, then I will be able to speak well, thought Srila Prabhupada. So by hearing, then one becomes qualified and empowered to preach, to speak about Krishna. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta called for Abhay to come forward and receive his Hare Kṛṣṇa initiation by accepting his keys. And after offering prostrated obeisance, Abhay extended his right hand and accepted the strand of japa beads from the hand of his spiritual master. At the same time, he also received the sacred Brahminical thread, signifying second initiation. Usually, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta gave first initiation Hare Kṛṣṇa, and then only after some time, when he was satisfied with the progress of the cycle, he would give second initiation. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta accepted our Prabhupada just immediately with both initiations. And Srila Bhaktisiddhanta added to his name Abhay Charan, and he called him now Abhay Charanaravinda. Now he was Abhay Charanaravinda. So it says here also, Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu, Nectar of Devotion, was a law book for devotional service. Prabhupada would study it very carefully. That was he was instructed by his spiritual master to do. And he also received the instruction to preach the mission of Lord Chaitanya. And now he began steadily and carefully considering how to do so. Preaching was a responsibility, at least as binding as that of his home and business. Even in his home, he wanted to engage as far as possible in teaching. So Srila Prabhupada, he didn't try to become a leader in the inner management of the Gaudiya Math organization. But he did develop a close relationship with his spiritual master. One time, Prabhupada was there at the Chaitanya Math in Mayapur, and there was a large poisonous snake that crawled out in front of him in the courtyard. And Prabhupada called out for his godbrothers, but when everyone came, they simply stood there looking, uncertain what to do. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta came out on the veranda of the second floor, glanced down, saw the snake, immediately ordered, "Kill it!" And a boy took a large stick and killed the snake. So Srila Prabhupada thought, how is it that Guru Maharaj ordered the snake to be killed? I was a little surprised. But later on, I saw this verse and I was very glad. The verse said, even saintly persons take pleasure in the killing of a scorpion or a snake. So Prabhupada felt, even though he had to doubt the scripture, only enlightened him that this was the proper action. So as Prabhupada's relationship grew with his spiritual master, and he would talk a little freely and openly with him, his godbrothers would sometimes give him a quote, "Fools rush in where angels fear to tread." But Prabhupada thought, fool? Well, maybe, but that's the way I am. And he always, when he met and offered his obeisance to his spiritual master, the Bhaktisiddhanta would say, "Not so it's me, I am your servant." So one time, Prabhupada was there listening to his spiritual master, and an old man sitting beside him started trying to talk to Prabhupada. I'm not sure what's going on. Suddenly, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, in an annoyed voice, spoke to the two inattentive students. So first he addressed the old man, "Babu, do you think you have purchased me with your 150 rupee donation every month?" And then he looked to Abai, Prabhupada, "Why don't you come up here and speak instead of me?" So Prabhupada was outwardly mortified, yet he treasured this criticism, rebuke. Another time, his Guru Maharaj, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, told him of an incident, a very personal incident, that he went to preach in this one event. And he said that they wanted to kill him. The story was that a group of people collected 25,000 rupees and went to bribe the police officer in charge of the area, saying, "You take these 25,000 rupees and we shall do something against Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati, and you don't take any steps." So the policeman could understand they wanted to kill him. But he immediately went to Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. He says, "Yes, we accept bribes and we indulge in such things, but not for a sadhu, not for a saintly person. I cannot dare. So you take care. This is the position, what is happening." So there was a whole scenario that unfolded where Srila Bhaktisiddhanta exchanged clothes with one of his disciples, and he snuck out of the tent, out of the place they were giving reception, and he left untouched, unharmed. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was also known as the Simha or Lion Guru, because he would preach very strongly, especially to impersonalists. And with his disciples, he would tell them, "Do not compromise when you're preaching. Why should you go to flatter these men? You should speak the plain truth without any flattery. Money will come anyway." And then a famous quote was there. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, "Don't try to see God, but act in such a way that God sees you." So we often quote that. Another time he said in Bengali, Pranachayat sehetu prachat. Person must have life to be a preacher. A dead man cannot preach. So, and some of his disciples, preachers, had gone to preach at a program, attended the meeting, but no one came. So Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, that doesn't matter. The four walls will hear you, and that is sufficient. Don't be disappointed. Go on chanting. So sometimes we're a little disappointed when we don't have a sufficient audience when we hold the program. But Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, the four walls will hear you. Just go on chanting. And I wanted to cover real quickly. Wow, this is over. The poem Srila Prabhupada wrote for his Srila Bhaktisiddhanta's appearance day. And this is one stanza. The absolute is sentient, thou hast proved, impersonal calamity thou hast moved. So this statement, which he wrote in English, very much impressed Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. And he felt that Prabhupada had understood his mind. And this was a very intimate and important relationship to have understood exactly the mission of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta. So in the final days, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta was sick, and Prabhupada wrote him a letter. He said, I am a householder. You know, your brahmacharis are going in with the sannyasis and they're preaching. And I sometimes give monetary help. I cannot give you direct service. Is there any particular service that I can do? So 2 weeks later, Prabhupada received the reply from his spiritual master. Quote, I am fully confident that you can explain in English our thoughts and arguments to the people who are not conversant with the languages of the other members. This will do much good to yourself as well as to your audience. I have every hope that you can turn yourself into a very good English preacher if you serve the mission to inculcate the novel impression of Lord Chaitanya's teachings in the people in general, as well as the philosophers and religionists. So this was Prabhupada's final instruction to go forth and preach in English. So these are some of the remarkable and important connections with Srila Prabhupada and with his spiritual master. Now I'm going to quickly change here and read through some quotes of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta that are very meaningful. So here is the first quote. Life is for glorification of the topics of Hari. If that is stopped, then what is the need to carry on life? So without preaching and glorifying the Lord, there's no meaning to life. I wish that every selfless, tender-hearted person of the Gaudiya Math will be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood for the nourishment of the spiritual corpus of every individual in this world. So he wanted his followers, disciples, to be prepared to shed 200 gallons of blood to preach. So important it was. He said, let me not desire anything for but the highest good for my worst enemies. Those favored by God find their path set by thorns. So if one is favored by Krishna, doesn't mean he's going to have an easy life. There will be plenty of struggles, but those bring us closer and closer to Krishna. When faults in others misguide and delude you, have patience, introspect, and find faults in yourself. Know that others cannot harm you unless you harm yourself. So similarly, as far as looking at others, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta said, look within. Man, change yourself rather than pry into the frailties of others. So first look at our own hearts. and see how we can improve rather than being so concerned with others maybe not up to the standard. Our span of life on earth is short. Our success will be crowned with our life will be crowned with success if the body wears out with constant discourses on Hari. And our Srila Prabhupada did this up to his final days. In his final months, he traveled all the way to England to preach. And he was continuing to translate his Śrīmad-Bhāgavatam. Every spot on earth where discourses on God are held is a place of pilgrimage. Not just the Leela stands that we're so familiar with, but any place there is talk about Krishna. We are put to test and trial in this world. And only those who attend the kirtan of the devotees can succeed. So much emphasis on the kirtan. A devotee feels the presence of God everywhere, but one who is averse to the Lord denies his existence everywhere. Physical illness with Hari Bhajan is preferred to physical fitness without Hari Bhajan. So better to be ill and doing your devotions than to be in good shape and let's just continue. Possession of objects not related to Krishna is our main malady, our main problem. As dalliance with the body in luxury increases, so wanes the spirit of service to the Lord. So the more we're interested in enjoying the body in luxury, then our spirit of devotional service will decrease. Unless we are devoted to God, secularism and politics will say, shall not leave us. There is no peace or happiness in our worldly life. Circumstances create toil and annoyance. So there's always disturbance in our material life. So chant the Maha Mantra loudly with attachment. This will drive away inertia, worldly evils, and pests. This is the solution to all disturbances. Let me just see. This world, Maya, averse to the Lord, full of trials and tribulations. Only patience, humility, and respect for others are our friends in Hari Bhajan. So these are our virtues to strive for: patience, humility, and respect. Let me see. I just almost done. Lord Gaurasundar puts his devotees into various difficulties and associations to test their patience and strength of mind. Success depends on their good fortune. Finally, to recite the name of Śrī Krishna is bhakti. So let me stop here. Wow, 8 o'clock, great. Any questions, comments, additions? I hope it was helpful and instructive to you all. And no, nothing to be added by anyone. Go ahead, Srila, you want to speak?
Thank you so much, Prabhuji. You covered so many wonderful stories and pastimes and anecdotes and so many lessons in 20, 30 minutes. This is very, very inspiring. So
maybe too much. You get too much, you get overloaded. I don't know. But these slides are available. I can share them if somebody wants.
That would be great help for everyone. And also, I think today is the 100th anniversary for those who joined later, when Srila Prabhupada met his Guru Maharaj at the Ulta Junction Road. So you may have seen that video. A lot of senior Vaishnavas gave wonderful class. It's like an 11-hour program today. It's all the video I shared, so you can see that. So very nice. They have renovated that structure, the building. So please, when you get a chance, please have a look at that.
Yes, this building apparently, was a big preaching center for Srila Bhaktisiddhanta, but over the years it became more and more neglected. ISKCON was able to acquire it and renovate it completely. So, anything else?
Anyone has any quick questions or comments before we kind of wrap up? Today we'll keep this quick because of some other programs. So.
Well, if a few people can just give me one point they got from the whole presentation that was really stuck with them, then I'll know I was successful. So first on my screen is people. One point that stuck with you.
All Guru. So the last line, the chanting Krishna is a bhakti. So to chant Krishna whole day, so bhakti is done.
Thank you very much. Next, Sudhir, you want to speak? One thing.
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhuji, Dandat Pranam. So you mentioned how Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur was, kind of lion, like, he was very bold. He was eager to, serve everybody. Even though he was very strong, but he was mild again, that I think you mentioned. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Hare Kṛṣṇa. Anyone else?
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dandavat Pranam, all Guru to Srila Prabhupada. So the point, it struck me that chanting will remove all the inertia. So means all the laziness will go with the chanting. Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur spoke. So it's very important, like to remove all the inertia, laziness. Just chant.
Very good. Thank you.
And another point, Prabhuji just has stuck also, like do not see fault on others, just see yourself. That quote also stuck to me.
Very, very helpful point. Thank you.
Thank you, Prabhuji. Very nice class.
Anyone else was to bring any point?
Hare Kṛṣṇa, Prabhu. As you mentioned, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Sarasvati Thakur stated that don't try to see Krishna. Do something which Krishna will see.
Yes. That is very deep statement to meditate on. Thank you. Anyone else? Umesh, Kartik, Nayan, anyone? I hope I'm not trying to neglect anyone, but
Prabhuji, I'm still thinking because everything was perfect. I'm just trying to think of one that really struck me.
okay. Anyone else while she's thinking? Devika, Prabhuji, after his initiation, Srila Prabhupada continued his grihastha life for quite some time. Yes, until about 1950 or so, when all his businesses failed and everything, and he's trying to preach more, then finally he left household life. All right. Well, because we have another meeting coming, I will apologize, but we should probably end here with Shrilas's permission.
Thank you so much, dear worshipable devotees, for joining, and thank you, Ramiya Prabhu, again for this wonderful nectarian stories of Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur.
Hare Kṛṣṇa.
Krishna, Srila Bhaktisiddhanta Thakur Prabhupada ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai. His Grace Ramiya Prabhu ki jai, Simha Guru ki jai. Pancha kalpatarubhyascha kripa